So, after understanding the UI and different modes and different windows, it's time we talk about the actual modeling paradigm inside a speed tree. Every software has different modeling paradigm for itself. For example, in case of most 3D applications, you create some blocks, do some polygon modeling, add modifiers, and things like that, which you are familiar with the 3D softwares out there, including Blender, Max, Maya, or anything. They have more or less the same paradigm. It's about adding primitives or using polygons to model objects. And a speed tree as well has its own paradigm. And getting ourselves familiar with the paradigm helps us really get the best result possible. Trees are different to model. There's a lot of complexity in this tree example that we have in here. If you're going to model this tree inside Blender or Max or anything, it's going to be very hard. Even inside ZBrush, it's going to be very hard. You're going to create the tree and then you're going to model the leaves and distribute the leaves on the tree, and it's going to take forever to make a tree using manual methods. But a speed tree is here to make that simple for us. You really do not want to polygon model a tree from the ground up. You're going to use some generators to go to the middle and use the nodes and freehand to fine tune the tree even more. So the paradigm of a speed tree modeling is the mix between the procedural modeling and manual modeling. Procedurals, or in this case the specific name is the generators, are there to make you roughly create the big shape, and by big shape I mean the overall silhouette of the tree, and then there's nodes and freehand which you can use to further manipulate the tree and make it more realistic and look less procedural. A lot of the times when I'm going to explain something like this, I'm going to create a triangle and explain that using this triangle. You see, this triangle has something to stand on. It has a firm base, it has a firm structure, and it stands on the ground pretty well. And this is really solid structure to make it really stand on the ground. And on top of it, it's beauty. It's balance, it's detail, it's whatever you call it. And it's like this in a speed tree. We divide this into three categories. The first one being the structure, the second one being the medium details, and the last one being the fine-tuning details. So I like to call this big, and this part medium, and this part small. And in terms of a speed tree, I like to call this part generators, this part nodes, and this part freehand. These generators really provide a strong base for us so that it has a strong structure and it's not going to fall apart. Then after ge generating the generators and doing the rough blockout, it's time to manipulate the nodes and take some of that procedurality out of the way. And when we were finished creating the medium shapes using the nodes, it's time about using freehand to really fine tune and finalize our model. And these different modes are available in here. There's generators which will create the tree procedurally, and then there's nodes which you can use them to further create the tree and make it really more realistic. And then there's freehand which you can use to finalize your model. So the generators are handled using this generation panel and of course the properties panel. Of course, because we have not selected anything, we are not seeing any properties. But as soon as we click on a generator or a node or anything, we are going to see the properties in here. And these properties are what makes the tree stand out really. There are a lot of controls which we can use to make the tree possible. So it's good to know that using the generation panel and properties, we are able to control the procedural look of the tree. And this generation is really hierarchical. things come after each other. You see, everything that we have in here has been connected to a trunk node. Everything starts from here, and then after that it comes the roots being attached to it using different generators and different branch levels as well. Everything is hierarchical. And if I attach something to this first level of branches, it's going to only affect this branch. I mean in node level or generation level. And everything I attach to this is going to be attached only to this. For example, if I take this and connect it to the trunk in here, you see it has changed completely because these branches that I have added are being connected to the trunk, not the first level of branches in here. So keeping the hierarchy manageable is one of the most important things when using a speed tree. So let me open a new blank scene and explain things in here. We have this tree, which is the bare bone of everything that we create in here. If we want to create something that is affecting the tree, affecting this scene, we are going to connect it to this. So let's right click on it or add from here. I'm going to add a trunk. And for now, I really do not care about the unit conversion because we are going to only talk about some modeling things. So we added a basic trunk. And for example, if you want to have multiple trunks, you can do that. If you want to make the trunk bigger or smaller, you can do that. You can do basically anything that you want. And we're going to explain these properties later on. But this trunk that we created is called a generator. And it's going to create one or multiple components. In this case, it has created only one component. But if I try to make this more even, you see it has created 3 different trunks, and each one has been called a node. And they are accessible using this menu. And if I select on this, it's going to select this for me. Let me bring it out. I can select different nodes and do whatever I want to do with them. So these are called nodes. And some of them together is called a generator. And a generator is the component that makes it up. In this case, we have 3 different nodes creating a generator. So let me go to generator mode and decrease the number so that we have only this. And now I'm going to create the first level of branches. So I click on here and create a branch. So this is a branch generator in here which we have. And now it's composed of only a single node. And if I want to make it multiple nodes, I select this and add 10. So this is a generator in here, and the components are called the nodes. If we select this branch as a generator, we are able to procedurally control the look of it. But if we go to the node mode, we are able to take each of them individually and select them, rotate them, scale them, and do whatever we want to do with them to further manipulate the tree. But unlike the generator mode, which the values are real in here, for example, we have the size in here, for example, set to 1. If we go to node mode and select any of them, you see the size in here is 0. And if it's 0, it means that we have done nothing to this. And this value is offset to the generator value that we have there. And it's going to control only the things that are going to happen on this particular node. For example, if I enter 2 in here, it's going to multiply the size of that node by 2 for us. So it's good to know that if you see the values in here are all 0, it means that you have done nothing there. And this change is going to remain in the tree itself. And if I select them in the generator mode, I mean selecting them all of them together, if I come into the size and make the size, for example, 0.5. You see all of them have been reduced, and this one has been reduced as well, but the offset value that we created is there, and it's going to remain. You do something that alters this node. For example, one of the things that alters is the randomization. If you randomize this generator, you see it's going to reset that because now that particular node isn't there. Or if you increase or reduce the number of nodes, it's going to reset that offset value that we created there. So ultimately, this is the way to do that. We use generators to rough out the blockout and then use the node and freehand together to create the medium and small shapes. And the generator and node are responsible to generate and manipulate the procedural data. And this freehand to automate artistic controls over the tree creation. And of course, having the hierarchy in mind is an essential thing to consider. And of course, there are two modes for this generation panel. If you right click in here and a style orientation, you can make it automatic. It's going to automatically set up for you. And then there's portrait and landscape. This portrait is going to be up and down, and the landscape is going to be from left to right. And automatic is going to decide which one is best depending on the tree that you have. So let's add another level up branch in here. And since the hierarchy is like this, the branches are going to grow on the first level up branch, and then this first level up branch is going to grow on the trunk itself. And we're going to read from left to right or bottom to top. If we go to portrait mode in here, orientation, if we set it to portrait, the good thing to read is from bottom to top. The first level is the trunk, and then these branches grow off of the trunk, and then these branches grow off on these branches. And if I select yet another branch level, it's going to go and be like that. And on this, if I decide to assign leaves in here, these leaf cards are going to grow off only on these branches. On these branches. You see, we have selected here, and these leaf cards are growing on these last level branches in here. And if I select this and bring it in here, let me bring this in here, the leaves, and make them select to these second level branches. And you see they have been connected in here instead of these last ones. So I believe this is enough for this lesson, and in the next lesson we're going to dedicate our time to go and see these different generators and see what which one do and what to expect from each generator, because it's good to know the tools and the tool set and the mindset when we are going to create a tree. Okay, see you there.